God, I'm telling you, my dogs are barking today.
But man, my dogs are barking.
Well, welcome into the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, man. We are already on episode 10 of our series where we are previewing every team that Mississippi State is going to be playing in the 2024 season. On this episode, we are looking at the Tennessee Volunteers. And for that, we are not alone. We're not winging it. We have an expert. We're going to be bringing in Michael from the Vol Fanatic Show, Tennessee, which is a representative of for the College Huddle for the Tennessee Volunteers. So, Michael, man, we're so excited to have you on the show. If you guys have not checked out his show before, please do, man. It really is great quality and a good way to learn about a team that is climbing their way into being in the upper echelon of the SEC. You know, Michael, here we are where we sit right now. We are, when this is posted, less than a month away from the college football season. Dude, how are you guys feeling over there in Knoxville?
I tell you what, but before I get that, expert might be a little bit of a stretch for Tennessee, but it honestly expectations are sky high on Rocky Top, man. You got incoming, I guess technically redshirt freshman Nico Iamaleava taking over the helm at quarterback this year.
Points for you, by the way, for pronouncing that. That was remarkable, and you were confident in it too, which is even more remarkable. Sorry, go ahead.
Hey, I have had a lot of practice with that. We've had a lot of people that have some strange last names at Tennessee for different sports. For example, for softball, we got one. Her name was Julia Kasoyanopoulos. It took a long time to perfect that one, but Nico, he's got high expectations for this season, and I've got a feeling that if he starts to struggle some, that fans are not going to take it lightly. They were calling for him to take the field last year when Joe Milton started struggling. But I feel like a lot of fans on Knoxville are looking at worst 10-2. Some are saying 11-1. Some are even saying 12-0, which I think is a little bit of a stretch considering that you've got to go to Georgia this year on the schedule.
Wow, yeah, no kidding. But it's so good that the fans feel like that Coach Heupel has gotten them to a point where they can be that that excited that, man, this is certainly a possibility. And you mentioned Nico. When you think about the whole team, is Nico the part where you go, man, I think this guy, this quarterback room, I think that is the strength of our team? Or is there another part of the team that you go, no, this is the part where we feel like we can hang our hat on? Like, what are you guys deciphering there?
So I really feel like, as far as offensive side of the ball, I do think the team is going to kind of go the way the running backs go. People look at Josh Heupel's offense and they say, well, air it out type offense. It's all about the passing game. No, the Josh Heupel offense is built on the running game. So the rest of the offense will go that the running game goes. And obviously, Nico's going to have to do well on his part for the offense to have a lot of success. But as long as the running game has success, I feel like that's going to open up the passing lane, which then is going to lead into Nico having success. But as far as the strength of this team, I'm going to go the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line. You've got arguably the best pass rusher coming back in James Pierce Jr. on the edge. But teams are going to be looking out for him this year. But then you've got a big Amari Thomas in the middle coming back for, I think this is his 5th year, using a COVID year this year. A lot of experience there. And then got a highly touted 5-star in Jordan Ross that's going to be on the edge. Don't know if he'll start or not, but he will definitely get some playing time opposite side James Pierce this year. So I think that's what Tennessee is going to hang their hat on, is the defensive line. Tim Banks, defensive coordinator, he's all about dialing up pressure. And I think that he's going to have offenses really scrambling and try to get the ball out quick against that defensive pressure.
And real quick, where you mentioned, you said Tim Banks, are both coordinators the same from last year? Or are these guys new?
So you've got, let's see, Yes, they're the same from last year. You got Joey Halzle coming back on the offensive side of the ball. You got Tim Banks on the defensive side of the ball. We do have a new linebackers coordinator on defense, and William Inge, that came from Washington with Kalen DeBoer. He is also, I believe, I don't really think it's going to be co-defensive coordinator, but he's going to have his say in some of the defenses as well. Josh Heupel is placing a lot of trust in him to kind of help out Tim Banks on the defensive side of the ball.
Wow, so that's interesting. So, and when you think about the strengths of this team, I think a lot of people have opinions on the offense and what Nico is going to be. I mean, the expectations, goodness, are sky high, mixed with Heupel's ability to call plays. And so I think there's a lot to be really excited about. And in the schedule, even being a part of it, just looking at the games they can win. But flip to the other side of things. I mean, is there a part of this team that when Tennessee fans really think about it, make them a little nervous? Like maybe not necessarily a weakness, but certainly a question mark. What would that position group be?
Oh, the big question mark, without a doubt, is the secondary on this team. In the first few years under Heupel, that's without a doubt been the weakness. You've had a lot of games where the front seven has done very well. I mean, Tennessee has been in the top half and even really the top 5 of the SEC pretty much every year under Heupel when it comes to the rush defense. But the pass defense is near the bottom, and that's where Tim Banks, he's a guy that wants to, I mentioned he wants to dial up the pressure. He also wants to go man-to-man. He wants to press those guys on the outside. And he's had to play a lot of zone with the guys that he had. He never did feel like he was set to play that type style that he wants. Well, you had a lot of guys transfer out of that secondary. You had a couple of guys that are graduated out. They're out of eligibility. You've got a completely brand new secondary this year. I mean, you've got a couple of guys that have been there underclassmen. You brought in some transfers, got a transfer from MTSU, one of the top safeties, one of the top corners out of the portal from Oregon State as well. And then you brought in some highly touted freshmen in this class, one of them being Jordan Matthews, a 4-star corner, going to be on the field this year. So I think that it's going to be an improvement from what Tennessee has had, but there's still a big question mark in that secondary. And if I was to highlight another position group that might be a question mark, it is the wide receiver group. I think there's a lot of talent in that wide receiver room, but there's also some unproven talent and some transfer guys that we don't know what to expect. So, and that's coming off of a group last year that there was a lot of expectation from. A couple of injuries happened, and you had guys that couldn't separate. And I think that went hand in hand with some of Joe Milton's struggles last year and what was a really highly anticipated year. A lot of expectations last year as well. So I would have to highlight the wide receiver group as well as a bit of a question mark.
That's from an outside perspective, that's very surprising. You think about Tennessee always has so many playmakers, and as you mentioned, they might end up being very good, but it's just kind of a question mark of like, man, I don't know what we have here. You think about this show covers Mississippi State and the rest of the SEC here on the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, and so we think about this matchup. I think the last time both of these teams played is 2019 or 2018, maybe. Yeah. It was Joe Moorhead was there. And Tennessee pulled out the victory in that game. And so now Mississippi State goes and plays Tennessee in Knoxville, which if I have an opportunity to go, I'm aiming to go. That is November the 9th. In Knoxville, Mississippi State is going to be taking on Tennessee. And let's take this moment now and let's fast forward to the next day. It's the day after the game. In the Starkville Daily News, the newspaper has kind of the headline: Tennessee beats Mississippi State due to. How would you finish that sentence if Tennessee were to beat Mississippi State?
I would say Tennessee beats Mississippi State due to the balanced attack that Tennessee used against Mississippi State. That run pass attack, that's been a calling card under Heupel. Is you do throw for 200 plus yards, sometimes around 300 yards passing, but you've also got 150 yards rushing or more in a contest. And you don't see a lot of teams that do that anymore. It's either a big rushing attack or a massive passing attack. But I feel like it's a good balance under Josh Heupel, and as long as that balanced attack takes effect, I think that would be the calling card for a victory over Mississippi State.
Yeah, and something I just thought about is Heupel. As you were talking about the offense that Heupel has, that's kind of so unique. It's a cool offense and a smart offense.
Yeah.
But Jeff Levy, Mississippi State's offensive or head coach, was once an offensive coordinator under Josh
Yep.
Heupel. I mean, he learned from Coach Heupel, and so obviously Heupel probably will know a lot of the things Levy's thinking about, the concepts, because he was there to teach him in those roles. Kind of an interesting matchup, and so that's the part of it of Tennessee winning the game. If there was a way for Mississippi State to win that game, if the headline in the newspaper was reversed, Mississippi State upsets Tennessee due to, how would you finish that sentence?
I think it would be they slowed down the high powered Tennessee attack. I think that's exactly what it would be if with Jeff Levy knowing a lot about this Heupel offense, having worked under Heupel at times, or I might have that backwards. Heupel might have worked under Levy. It was some sort of relationship there, but both of them they run the same style of an offense, and I think if Jeff Levy can slow down that really high-powered offense that Heupel runs, I think that would lead to a Mississippi State victory.
Man, that'd be something. Folks in Starkville would be going crazy, but it is tough to win in Knoxville. It is very, very hard to get out of there and get a victory.
And I think that's an X factor for any SEC game is where the game is being played. I mean, you could talk all the X's and O's that you want to, but especially in the SEC, playing in somebody else's home stadium, that has a big effect on the game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. What a huge advantage you guys have, man, with the amount of fans. Tennessee, like I mentioned, I've never been to Neyland Stadium, but I've heard so many people who do not like Tennessee mention how much respect they have for how loud it gets, but also how fun the atmosphere is, which I can appreciate. Because people will love nothing more than to talk down about an opponent they don't like. Oh man, the stadium even sucked. It was so bad. But it's very different with Tennessee. There's always a common sense of respect. And transferring, going over to our final. Every time I say the word transfer, it's like gunshots in my head, explosions everywhere. It's but going to our final topic. When you think about Tennessee fans, the Volunteers, think about the alumni, the fans. Who would you say those people are? In terms of like what are the fans like, and then like what's it like being there in Knoxville on a Saturday for those who have never experienced a Saturday night in Knoxville?
So I will say I have not had the opportunity to go to a lot of other teams, or really to any other team stadiums except for Vanderbilt. I've been to a Vanderbilt game. I haven't been able to go to like an Alabama game, Georgia game, Mississippi State, anything like that. But going to Neyland Stadium at night, it's hard to describe. Just the fans there are so passionate. And you can see that even whenever it comes to the coaching searches. You had the whole Greg Schiano situation where they started to hire him a few years ago. I think it was right before they hired Pruitt. And the fans were just livid to the point where they pulled out of that deal and then went to Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, the fans are so passionate there. And with a lot of the upgrades that Tennessee has done as far as, the light shows, kind of, modernizing things, getting the light shows going and, the fireworks, all that type stuff. It's just an amazing experience. And, they just put in a new video board on the north side of the stadium. They've always had the one on the south end, but they put a new one on the north end, a little party deck up there too, doing some other renovations that should be or will be done before the season starts. They might be done with it now. They're just constantly trying to upgrade things and stay up with the times. Now, one game that I would love to go to, of course, Tennessee, Alabama, but I'm sure you saw the night game against Kentucky 2 years ago. The just all the antics that went on with that. You had the spooky Rocky Top playing as they ran out. Just I would love to go to one where they have the Dartmouth uniforms. It's just a different energy for that game there. But I mean, Rocky Top, not Neyland Stadium, is just it's almost like another world. The experience that you have when you go there.
Man, oh, it sounds so cool. So it is a part of what makes college football so special. And I remember it's one of my first my first memories as a Mississippi State fan in the unfortunate torture that would become the rest of my life is 2002. So I was 7 years old. I just turned 7, and I remember being my parents owned a store on Main Street in Starkville, and the game was going on between Tennessee and Mississippi State in Starkville that Saturday, and there's no one in the store that my parents owned. So I was walking around, and finally I got this TV to like it was black, or not black and white, but when the connection was not great, and all of a sudden it cleared up because I knew the Mississippi State was playing Tennessee that day, and I got it to finally clear up. And as I'm watching the first play that like it clears up on, Tennessee scores a touchdown to take, I think they end up winning 35-17. Tennessee did. And I remember I looked at my dad and I said, why can't we go for a team that wins? And I always think that's so funny that's one of my first memories as a little kid. And it was from Tennessee playing Mississippi State there. So, because of that, Tennessee's always been a part of my football journey and in learning my plays, and of course, always been a very respected program. So it's going to be very exciting to see how Nico develops. He's had so much hype for so many years, even in high school. The process of getting him there, the potential NIL numbers that have been thrown out there, but now all of a sudden, the time has arrived, and now we're going to see how he ends up performing. And obviously, from the bowl game last season, there's no way but to be excited about what is going to happen. So, Michael, will you tell everybody where they can find you?
Well, you can find us on really all major streaming platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple. At the Vol Fanatics Show, YouTube has seen a major growth. Really, as of last night. So we did a live show last night, and I guess people are starting to look for more football content. It's getting closer and closer. We gained 17 subscribers on the YouTube last night alone from our live video. You can also find us on Twitter at VolFanatics1998. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, Vol Fanatics Show there as well. And of course, as you mentioned at the beginning, you can find us on the College Huddle. Make sure you check that out. You can check out the College Huddle YouTube page, and it's thecollegehuddle.com. You can catch myself. You can catch Landon. You can catch all 13 of the SEC pods that we have, as well as the 70-plus podcasts from all around college football in FBS. So make sure you check that out as well.